Yo, what's up, guys? It's Jack, and welcome back. And boy, oh boy, E3 is over, and there have been so many new games announced, and all the systems have like everything going for them. Everybody has unique games and all different things to offer, and oh my goodness, there's just so many good things. And here is the worst part. It's like I have to make a decision because there's so many different things, and I keep on wondering and asking myself, what am I going to be happier? Am I going to be happier with this? Am I going to be happier with that? You know, the Xbox One X, or formerly known as a Scorpio, has been revealed with all plans and stuff like that. But, you know, one other thing that I've come to the conclusion after doing some hard thinking for a few days is that, well, I personally think it's a little too early for 4K. I personally don't think as of right now 4K is the end all be all. Now granted, it's a great addition, but as of right now there's not going to be too much variety in that aspect now that it's been announced, and it's still a pretty darn new thing. And you know, plus you got to get the 4K TV to go with it along with that, and you know, and let's not forget the fact that you can still play all the different games and all that kind of stuff, but that's besides the point. I mean, you still got PlayStation and their amazing exclusives like God of War. God of War looks absolutely amazing. And a couple of others. Like, I honestly, there is a soft spot in my heart for Crash Bandicoot Remastered, because in my early teens I grew up playing PlayStation because out of peer pressure I ended up getting a PlayStation instead of an N64, because I actually wanted an N64, but I gave in to the PlayStation. But I'm not sad about that necessarily, because I spent a lot of my early childhood before my teens playing a lot of regular and Super NES, and there's different games along with that. But for the PlayStation, I got introduced to Duke Nukem and all sorts of different games, you name it. And man, oh man, and as you guys know, if you've been with me here for a while, and by the way, I thank you very much for sticking with me, and I know I haven't been too consistent lately, and if you've been following me and watching me, you know that work has absolutely been kicking my ass, and it'll be over soon, sooner than later, and I really thank you guys for sticking with me, and I can tell because the number of subscribers has pretty much been the same, so I thank you guys very much for being patient with me. And back on topic here, I mean, it's really, really tempting to just go out there and just get a PS4. And I've been, like I said, I've been playing on Xbox One. Number one, because that was the system that I decided to get overall when it came down to the to the new systems that were announced a few years back, 2 or 3 years ago. And number two is also because my friends play on that system as well. So, and for the last X amount of years, it's been more Xbox 360 than it was PlayStation 3. So, but with all that being said, there's still God of War, there's still Crash Bandicoot. I mean, there's so many good games out there, Decisions, and but the thing is this. I started asking myself, it's like, okay, will I truly be happy with 4K? What if I just were to get a handful of games this year instead of just jumping on the 4K wagon and just getting a Nintendo Switch, getting a PS4, and just getting everything, just dropping, you know, an X amount of dollars and just treating myself because I've been working hard this year or whatnot. But I start to think about it, and it's like, well, how many games am I going to play for each system? You know, for right now, the single player games, although they will fill the void for a little while, I spend a majority of my time playing multiplayer games because that's what's been doing it for me. But there is still and will always be that soft spot for single player games, especially with franchises that I grew up with, no matter what the console has been on. So it's like I'm being pulled in all sorts of different directions. But then as an adult, I'm almost 33 years old. I'll be 33 in September, and you know, you start to think a little bit differently as an adult. You really start to think more in depth before you make these decisions, not just because of money, but because of overall just like what makes more sense, what would make me happier. And with everything that the Xbox has been announcing and everything like that, and on top of that, there's platformers, new platformers that they've been announcing that is placed similar to Crash or like Mario. Now, granted, Mario, in my opinion, especially with Mario Odyssey, which absolutely just looks absolutely fantastic. Mario is the pinnacle of platformers as of right now, in my humble opinion. There's other platformers that definitely come close. They certainly have a lot in common, but in my opinion, the overall one that stands out the most is Mario. especially with Mario Odyssey coming out and everything, and the evolution of what the game has gone through over the years. But with the amount of time that I spend playing single-player games, which isn't really that much, I say just buy like a handful of multiplayer games and then just a couple single-player games here and there for the Xbox One, since most of the type of games are third-party games anyway. And just be patient and wait about a year, maybe a year, give or take, or maybe till next spring, and then go all out with the 4K. And if PlayStation announces some sort of program that's similar to backwards compatibility like Xbox, I will be all for it, and I'll get a PlayStation as well, because I love God of War. I want to play God of War. I want to go back and play all those games and the Crash Bandicoots and everything like that, but just getting 2 or 3 games so you can play it on one system, in my opinion, it isn't worth spending the money, spending like, let's say, $300 to get a system just to play like 3 or 4 games at the most throughout the entirety of that system. It's not worth it, really. You're better off just sticking with the system that you love and playing mostly the third-party games, with the multiplayer games, which are mostly third-party, and then the platformers that are on that specific system. I mean, it's definitely interesting. And the thing is, it's like, will I be just as happy? And the answer is probably yes. So, but if something just tickles my fancy, and then all of a sudden, if I just can't help but give in, and I say, hey, fuck it, then I may just I don't know, who knows, I may just splurge completely, but I don't think that's going to be the case. But I will say that I am in a very unique position right now, to where I am being pulled from all over the place, and it's easy but yet difficult to make a decision on what I want to do in terms of gaming, because I was really happy with E3 in terms of what Xbox is doing, especially with the OG stuff, and PlayStation and their exclusive have been amazing ever since they've implemented the PS4, obviously, and I'm sure it's only going to get better, and I hope in the future sometime they'll do some sort of backwards compatibility thing, because that's the only thing that's keeping them from being damn near perfect, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of PlayStation 4 owners will definitely agree. And the thing is, in my next video, I am going to talk about the top 10 games that I want, and I will probably get, that are not Call of Duty World War II. Call of Duty World War II is a game that I will get, but I can probably bear it down to maybe 10 or somewhere around 10, maybe more, maybe a little less than 10. But I'm going to try to get it to 10. I'm going to do a little review out of all the games that I've seen that I definitely want that I want to play. And I am glad and happy that a lot of them are third-party games. And when it came down to the Scorpio, now known as the Xbox X, I've just basically come to the conclusion of this. I have a perfect monitor that I've only had for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years at the most, that still has a lot of life in it, a lot of life left in it. There's a big screen TV in the living room that barely gets used, and I'm thinking about just using that for single player games and just switching on over whenever I want from my monitor to my TV. And then just waiting and just spending this gaming season just getting new games and not worrying about console hardware or updating to the Scorpio or getting a 4K TV for, I'd say, another year. And that is because, again, it's not necessarily just the money, although, I could probably do it. I could obviously do it, but it's the fact that it's still, in my opinion, a little too early for 4K, and at the same time, you never know what the hell Sony is going to announce in the next year or two, or what the hell they're planning, because, they are where they are for a reason, so I'm not going to forget about Sony as well, and I don't want to jump the gun on anything, and if all of a sudden things look even spectacular for Microsoft, and if all of a sudden they start doing all sorts of really good stuff with the 4K, and then there's more options and stuff like that, then yeah, sure. But I'm very impressed with E3, and I have a lot of decisions to make, even though I've pretty much made the decision not to upgrade to 4K. But even with that being said, a Nintendo Switch still seems kind of juicy to me due to Mario. They've announced Metroid Prime 4, and there's the fact that I love the nostalgia, and if the Nintendo Store gets working really well or whatnot, and all of a sudden the OG Super NES and regular Nintendo games go to their market for like $5 to $10 a pop, I will be all over that. That's more worth it to me. And if PlayStation does something similar with backwards compatibility for their old games for PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and the original PlayStation, holy shit. So that's basically where I am right now. I just thought I'd make a video about this because I'm like looking left, I'm like looking right, I'm like loving everything, and even though I've pretty much made the decision, I kind of really haven't. It's like they're asking me, is this your final answer? And I'm just staring at them without giving a reply. So I just thought this was interesting and make a video about it, and stay tuned for my next video, which I will be talking about around 10 games, maybe slightly less, that I will be getting and also posting on the channel, especially the multiplayer ones, that are not Call of Duty World War II, although Call of Duty World War II will be posted and will be on the channel because I know you guys love that, and I do as well. So, but anyway, yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. I've gone over my time, so I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. I started playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 again very recently. All this gameplay was very recent. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you find yourself in a similar situation or what your opinion is, please let it be known down below. And as always, if you enjoyed my video, let me know. And if you didn't, please let me know what I can do to make my videos better. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.